The scandal struck like lightning across a quiet sky. Alex Mercer said, "That is not my voice," as his phone exploded with alerts. The clip played endlessly, a grainy echo turned weapon. Riley Stone's posts poured gasoline on digital flames. Jordan Lee said, "Hold steady, we can fight this," but his words drowned beneath the roar of hashtags. Carter Vale walked away with polished statements, his smile unreadable. Emily Mercer stayed silent, her absence sharper than any insult. Priya Nandan leaned closer to her screen, studying frames others ignored. Alex whispered, "If this grows, my name will not survive." Notifications hit like stones against glass, and Riley celebrated each echo with a grin. Jordan typed defenses and deleted them, lost to hesitation. Carter drafted memos, disguised as duty. Emily hovered over a reply, then let silence speak louder. Priya whispered to herself, "Rewind reveals truth," yet the mob refused stillness. Alex felt the future collapsing like scaffolding in storm winds. The night offered no shelter, only the endless scroll of judgment. Morning light offered no mercy. Alex Mercer sat at the chipped kitchen table and said, "This storm will fade." Jordan Lee replied, "The truth must be spoken," but the feed rose heavier than his resolve. Riley Stone's new thread mocked him with a smile hidden behind concern. Carter Vale's note about standards turned into headlines praising his leadership. Emily Mercer's silence grew, her name appearing only in whispers of classmates condemning loyalty. Priya Nandan slowed the footage, marking lips that did not fit words. Alex Mercer muttered, "I must speak live," and Jordan Lee nodded though his hands trembled. A brand icon unfollowed, erasing support without sound. Riley Stone posed in another photo, outrage wrapped in glamour. Priya Nandan whispered to the frozen frame, "Evidence breathes here," while the world refused to listen. Alex Mercer straightened, jaw locked against the rising tide. Alex Mercer stared at the camera lens, breath sharp. He said, "I will not vanish." Jordan Lee whispered, "Speak plain, do not tremble." Countdown circles spun while chat preloaded with malice. Riley Stone resurfaced an old post, caption dripping venom disguised as virtue. Carter Vale's assistant sent notes that distanced the company from scandal. Emily Mercer hovered over a reaction icon, then chose silence. Priya Nandan dissected frames, lips and audio refusing to align. Alex Mercer said, "This was spliced," but the comments drowned truth with laughter. Jordan Lee pinned words of defense, swallowed by capital letters and emojis. Battery drained, the warning icon flashing like prophecy. Alex Mercer ended live trembling, and the replay counter climbed, feeding a storm that only grew. Screenshots became weapons, spreading like stains. Alex Mercer said, "That caption is years old," while his apology draft tasted hollow. Riley Stone published a post about accountability, words polished and cruel. Carter Vale's leaked memo gained applause for strength without sacrifice. Emily Mercer trended for following, but never speaking. Jordan Lee said, "We need evidence," and assembled files glowing on his screen. Priya Nandan aligned waveforms, spotting seams like cracked glass. Alex Mercer whispered, "Would proof matter to anyone?" The hashtag sharpened and bit deeper. News anchors smirked between polished scripts. Jordan Lee uploaded timelines, cursor shaking. Priya Nandan exported clips labeled truth, naming the lie for what it was. Night returned heavy and relentless. Alex Mercer said, "I am not a headline," but the words cracked under weight. Riley Stone streamed with smiling guests, their nods synchronized judgment. Carter Vale approved sponsor exits with detached precision. Emily Mercer scrolled past classmates who sharpened essays against his name. Jordan Lee said, "We release the evidence tonight and hit schedule." Priya Nandan stitched comparison frames, revealing missing breaths where words had been cut. Alex Mercer whispered, "I want my name back," but the mirror only stared cold. The apartment buzzed with electronics and rain. A siren cut through silence, holding one note. Jordan Lee pressed publish. The clip shot into darkness like a flare. Alex Mercer waited for light, But the timeline answered with silence, chewing louder. Dawn crept over cracked blinds while the feed refused to sleep. Alex Mercer said before all this, "I only wanted a stage," and the room answered with the low hum of chargers. Jordan Lee said, "You worked for it," pointing at a scribbled setlist that felt like a relic. Riley Stone posted a memory of collaboration and captioned it like pity. Carter Vale updated a calendar and slid a date into the trash. Emily Mercer scrolled past a photo from a county showcase and paused on Alex Mercer's grin. Priya Nandan said, "Record what you lost, then fight for it," and opened a folder named before. Alex Mercer traced a fingertip over a ticket stub and said, "It smelled like dust and sugar that night." Jordan Lee loaded old audio where laughter warmed the mix. The kettle clicked and sounded like a distant ovation. Alex Mercer lifted the mic from its stand and held it like a promise that would not hold still. The first coach once said greatness is routine, not fireworks, and Jordan Lee repeated it softly. Alex Mercer said, "Routine feels like glass underfoot now," while a metronome tapped a nervous heartbeat. Riley Stone uploaded a throwback and wrote, "Friends change." Carter Vale scheduled a town hall that felt more like a firewall. Emily Mercer typed a message that began with, "Are you okay?" and ended in drafts. Priya Nandan said, "Structure steadies hands, arranging a rehearsal plan with timestamps and breaths." Alex Mercer practiced scales that stuck to his tongue like ash. Jordan Lee said again, and the vowel finally rang clear. The clock on the stove blinked as if time had flinched. Alex Mercer exhaled and said, "I will rebuild a day before I rebuild a life." The neighborhood stage sat empty, except for dust motes and the smell of old curtains. Alex Mercer said, "This was supposed to be first night," touching taped X marks on the floor. Jordan Lee answered, "Then let it be the map for return," and powered a borrowed amp that coughed to life. Riley Stone posted a venue selfie from years ago and wrote, "Time tells truth." Carter Vale reviewed risk language and underlined brand safety. Emily Mercer lingered in the doorway and turned away when a volunteer waved. Priya Nandan said, "Acoustics here, forgive nothing," setting a recorder near the edge of the stage. Alex Mercer sang a line that trembled, but did not break. Jordan Lee smiled a small approval that hit harder than applause. The rafters kept the secret, and the secret was hope disguised as echo. A guidance counselor once wrote resilient in a tiny box, and Alex Mercer folded that word into a wallet. Jordan Lee said, "Name 3 things that are still yours," and waited like a lighthouse. Alex Mercer said, "My voice, my craft, my people," and counted them on shaking knuckles. Riley Stone teased a podcast segment and promised nuance that felt like bait. Carter Vale forwarded legal language that sounded like a door closing softly. Emily Mercer texted, "I will listen when you want to talk," and did not add a heart. Priya Nandan said, "Truth lives in timing," and cued a frame where the mouth broke from the sound. Alex Mercer repeated the line until consonants clicked like anchors. Jordan Lee said, "Clip that take," and the waveform looked clean and calm. The kettle boiled again, and the room decided to survive 5 more minutes. Night wrapped the block like a heavy coat, and the feed kept breathing. Alex Mercer said, "I remember the first post that ever went right," and smiled despite the ache. Jordan Lee replied, "The next right thing is a thread of facts, assembling screenshots that did not shout." Riley Stone teased a space for open dialogue and muted replies that disagreed. Carter Vale proposed a cooling period and called it strategic patience. Emily Mercer bookmarked the new evidence and whispered a yes that no one heard. Priya Nandan said, "We released the methodology, not just the claim," and drafted captions with timestamps and terms. Alex Mercer nodded and said, "I will speak softly and stand hard." Jordan Lee set the cue and checked the clock. The city hummed, and an old promise began to sound like a future again. The feet grew heavier, like an iron sky pressing downward. Alex Mercer said, "Every hour, another sponsor leaves, as icons grayed out one by one." Jordan Lee replied, They fear headlines more than truth. His jaw locked tight. Riley Stone mocked in subtweets that sounded playful but dripped venom. Carter Vale sent polished words about protecting brand values, while signatures vanished from contracts. Emily Mercer scrolled in silence, her name whispered in gossip for not defending. Priya Nandan said, "This clip fractures under frame-by-frame review," yet her voice carried nowhere beyond their small circle. Alex Mercer whispered, "I am erased in real time, watching comments climb like vines." Jordan Lee struck keys with urgency, stitching together defenses. Riley Stone smiled in new posts, a victory parade thinly veiled as commentary. Priya Nandan rewound the clip again, stubborn against the storm. Alex Mercer sat rigid, his breath shallow as a hunted bird. Whispers crept into hallways, and betrayal thickened. Alex Mercer said, "Even friends untag me now," and the sting was sharper than strangers. Jordan Lee clenched fists and muttered, "Cowards choose silence." Riley Stone posted another essay, cloaking cruelty in calls for accountability. Carter Vale whispered in boardrooms, "We cannot carry dead weight," and nods sealed exile. Emily Mercer lingered outside classrooms, ignoring curious stares, silence tightening around her like a scar. Priya Nandan said, "Look closely, the audio waveform skips where no human breath lives, her screen a battlefield of truth." Alex Mercer stared at comments from people once close, each unfollow a knife. Jordan Lee whispered, "We fight harder," though fatigue trembled in his voice. Riley Stone collected likes, the mob applauding her judgment. Alex Mercer pressed palms against his face, wishing for quiet that never came. Night fell again, a darker shade than before. Alex Mercer said, "Every headline cuts deeper," scrolling news tickers filled with his name. Jordan Lee replied, "We must release evidence now," urgency cracking through his steady mask. Riley Stone live-streamed commentary, her tones sweet but sharpened like glass. Carter Vale prepared contracts for rivals, whispering, "Business adapts." Emily Mercer avoided family chats, her profile untouched by defense. Priya Nandan said, "This splice cannot fool anyone with ears," overlaying visuals with sound. Alex Mercer whispered, "Then why does the mob not listen?" Jordan Lee uploaded files that vanished beneath louder voices. Riley Stone smiled as if justice was entertainment. Alex Mercer hunched forward, staring at the glow, feeling the weight of abandonment grow with every scroll. The mob found older posts, digging like scavengers. Alex Mercer said, "They twist memories into knives," and his chest tightened. Jordan Lee replied, "Context never matters to them," as his fingers shook over the keyboard. Riley Stone amplified the archive, declaring patterns that were only fragments. Carter Vale sighed over a call, "This is beyond salvage," and closed another door. Emily Mercer deleted old photos quietly, her silence red as guilt. Priya Nandan insisted, "The splice is clear, but the crowd prefers fire to water," dragging markers across timelines. Alex Mercer muttered, "I was never given a chance to start," the weight of dreams fading into smoke. Jordan Lee pressed forehead to palm, weary. Riley Stone grinned with trending power. The storm kept rising, merciless. By the weekend, the storm became relentless thunder. Alex Mercer said, "I hear them in the walls," as comments echoed louder than thought. Jordan Lee replied, "They are just words," but fear cracked his tone. Riley Stone hosted another panel, her voice carried like gospel to eager followers. Carter Vale secured his image with interviews, words dripping with careful distance. Emily Mercer avoided streets, afraid of stares tied to her last name. Priya Nandan said, "We are close. The splice bleeds here, showing frames where the truth lived." Alex Mercer whispered, "Truth feels like ashes in my mouth," despair knotting his chest. Jordan Lee muttered, "We push anyway," clicking upload. Riley Stone smiled into cameras, her triumph staged. The night roared outside, neon bleeding into rain, the storm nowhere near ending. The storm shifted when Priya Nandan froze a single frame and said, "Look, the waveform splits here." Alex Mercer leaned closer, whispering, "That is not my voice." Jordan Lee asked. Then, whose is it? As silence pressed against the room. Riley Stone uploaded a clip celebrating justice, unaware her hands carried shadows. Carter Vale polished interviews, declaring integrity his compass, though his eyes betrayed calculation. Emily Mercer stared at the evidence file, hands trembling, but lips sealed. Priya Nandan whispered, "This is deliberate, not accident," highlighting timestamps that exposed tampering. Alex Mercer muttered, "Someone wanted me erased before I began." Jordan Lee clenched his fists and said, "Then the enemy is not strangers, it is someone close." The truth cracked open like glass under weight. Riley Stone's smile in archived photos looked sharper now. Carter Vale's memos hinted at motives buried under profit. The twist burned bright, shifting every suspicion. The evidence pointed to betrayal wrapped in friendship. Alex Mercer whispered. Riley had access to raw files, as the thought carved ice across his chest. Jordan Lee said, "She wore support like a mask," and replayed a live stream where her smirk lingered too long. Riley Stone tweeted about solidarity while her hands stirred the storm. Carter Vale sent another cold directive, avoiding questions that would have revealed the cracks. Emily Mercer read a private message that begged her to cut ties, the sender's name blurred in shame. Priya Nandan highlighted metadata saying, "This was exported from Riley's system." Alex Mercer's face hollowed as realization pierced. Jordan Lee muttered, "She built her rise on your fall." Riley Stone's celebration became evidence of sabotage, the truth twisted into knives. The betrayal tasted bitter and sharp, reshaping the battlefield. The weight of the revelation pressed harder than the mob itself. Alex Mercer whispered, "I trusted her with my voice," the words breaking mid-breath. Jordan Lee shouted, "She staged the fire," fury vibrating in his throat. Riley Stone continued to post, every update wrapped in performance. Unaware suspicion spread in whispers. Carter Vale's interviews leaned heavier on distancing, his polished lines concealing his relief. Emily Mercer hesitated at her keyboard, typing Riley's name before deleting it, fear holding her hands still. Priya Nandan said, "This splice is no accident. It is engineered sabotage," her conviction ablaze. Alex Mercer's shoulders slumped, the betrayal heavier than the cancellation itself. Jordan Lee muttered, "We cannot stay silent now," determination setting fire behind his eyes. The mob howled louder, but for the first time truth flickered like a candle in storm winds. The betrayal spread among whispers before reaching the crowd. Alex Mercer said, "If this truth is ignored, then none of it matters." Jordan Lee answered, "We will release it ourselves," his tone forged in steel. Riley Stone tweeted in defense of accountability, yet the timestamps betrayed her mask. Carter Vale steered questions away, careful not to appear complicit in any revelation. Emily Mercer turned her phone over, unable to watch but unable to turn away completely. Priya Nandan crafted a post filled with evidence saying, "Transparency is our weapon." Alex Mercer nodded, his voice thin but firm, "Then I will face them with proof." Jordan Lee pressed save, his finger trembling before the release. The betrayal was no longer rumor. It had a name, a face, and evidence sharp enough to cut. The twist landed like thunder in a silent hall. Alex Mercer whispered, "Riley made me a villain for her stage." Jordan Lee said, "Then we show the world her script." Riley Stone's timeline filled with applause, unaware her curtain was about to fall. Carter Vale rehearsed his next statement, ready to pivot when the tide turned. Emily Mercer sat on her bed, tears hidden in pillow folds, guilt burning her silence. Priya Nandan uploaded the proof with steady hands, saying, "Let truth breathe." Alex Mercer's chest rose and fell, the first breath that carried defiance instead of despair. Jordan Lee squeezed his shoulder, silent but strong. The mob scrolled, the evidence sparked, the narrative cracked. The story no longer belonged to Riley alone. The world had to decide again. The upload detonated across timelines, a flare in endless night. Alex Mercer said, "Now they see," though fear pressed against his ribs. Jordan Lee whispered, Comments burned fast, while screens filled with fractured reactions. Riley Stone went live, denying sabotage with practiced poise. Carter Vale shifted tone, saying, "We value integrity," though his voice shook. Emily Mercer sat in her room, eyes on Alex's face, but hands still unwilling to type defense. Priya Nandan said, "Truth will fight back slow, not sudden," her calm a shield against panic. Alex Mercer's breath hitched as anger mixed with relief. Jordan Lee muttered, "Let them rage. Let them argue. It means they hear us." Riley Stone's smile faltered midstream, cracks bleeding through her charm. The climax swelled. No silence left, only a roar that threatened to consume them all. The storm reached boiling point. Alex Mercer shouted, "I was framed," the words tearing into the night. Jordan Lee typed furiously, pinning proof links that scrolled too fast to hold. Riley Stone's live collapsed into stuttering excuses, her once perfect smile breaking. Carter Vale crafted emergency statements, his hands betraying panic behind closed doors. Emily Mercer whispered, "He never lied," though the words never left her lips. Priya Nandan said, "The splice is undeniable now, replaying evidence frame by frame for doubters." Alex Mercer's voice cracked as he declared, "My career died before it lived, pain erupting raw and jagged." Jordan Lee slammed the desk, shouting, "They must listen." Riley Stone cut her feed midstream, silence louder than denial. The climax snapped like lightning, electrifying every corner of the web. Every reaction fractured into battle lines. Alex Mercer said, "I will not bow," gripping the mic as if it could shield him. Jordan Lee urged, "Keep talking," while notifications poured like rain on glass. Riley Stone scrambled to spin her story, but her audience split, doubt carving cracks in her empire. Carter Vale prepared fallback plans, whispering to advisors, "Distance faster." Emily Mercer scrolled through comments, hands trembling, guilt strangling her silence. Priya Nandan said, "This is war of proof, not words," exporting clips to strengthen their arsenal. Alex Mercer's throat tore with each declaration, but fire sparked in his eyes. Jordan Lee's jaw tightened, rage fueling him. Riley Stone deleted posts, her retreat proof of guilt. The climax flared into chaos, truth and lies colliding in a storm of voices. The confrontation sharpened into its rawest edge. Alex Mercer yelled, "You stole my voice, Riley," his accusation echoing into feeds. Jordan Lee pressed publish again, every clip hammering her facade. Riley Stone snapped in panic, tweeting contradictions that unraveled like thread. Carter Vale muttered, "We cannot back her now," and meetings shifted toward self-preservation. Emily Mercer sat at her desk, tears dripping onto silent keys. Priya Nandan said, "This is the strike, the proof undeniable," pointing to final overlays that shattered any defense. Alex Mercer's face flushed with fury and despair, caught between collapse and defiance. Jordan Lee's voice cracked with determination, "We fight until they listen." Riley Stone's empire crumbled in real time, her followers torn apart by doubt. The climax burned with fire no one could extinguish. The breaking point cracked open like thunder. Alex Mercer shouted, "This ends now," his voice raw, shaking walls. Jordan Lee said, "They cannot erase truth," pounding keys until uploads stacked like bricks in defense. Riley Stone collapsed off camera, silence replacing her voice. Carter Vale pivoted instantly, releasing statements praising resilience and condemning betrayal, his loyalty shifting like sand. Emily Mercer whispered finally, "He was innocent," but her words drowned in the storm's roar. Priya Nandan said, "We hold the truth in our hands now," eyes locked on proof glowing across screens. Alex Mercer raised his head, eyes aflame with both agony and strength. Jordan Lee's grip on his shoulder steadied him. The climax crashed, rage and truth exploding into the world with no return. The city stirred under gray skies as the aftermath set in. Alex Mercer said, "The mob is quieter, but the scars stay." Jordan Lee replied, "We held the line, though it broke us." Riley Stone vanished from timelines, her silence more telling than denial. Carter Vale rebranded himself as the champion of accountability, shifting sides as if nothing cracked. Emily Mercer whispered apologies in private words that never reached the crowd. Priya Nandan said, "The evidence stands on its own now," pointing at shared files still spreading. Alex Mercer's face softened with exhaustion, not triumph. Jordan Lee murmured, "This is survival, not victory." Emily Mercer pressed her phone to her chest, her silence heavier than her words. Priya Nandan leaned back saying, "Truth walks slowly, but it walks." The storm had passed, but the ground still trembled beneath them. News anchors debated in polished tones while lives lay in ruins. Alex Mercer said, "They argue about me like I am theory, not flesh." Jordan Lee replied, "That is how stories die, in panels and soundbites." Riley Stone's name trended again, but now tied to betrayal. Carter Vale's statements filled airwaves, shifting blame away from his company. Emily Mercer hid from classmates, her silence now a burden carved deeper. Priya Nandan said, "Their tone does not matter, the data lives forever," her voice steady. Alex Mercer slumped, whispering, "But what is left of me?" Jordan Lee placed a hand on his shoulder, whispering, "You are still here." Priya Nandan uploaded more proof, ensuring history could not erase it. The noise outside grew louder, but inside the truth held steady in quiet defiance. The weight of exile pressed hardest when the noise dulled. Alex Mercer said, "The stage is gone, the sponsors gone, even trust gone." Jordan Lee muttered, "But not your voice." Riley Stone hid behind legal counsel, her empire fractured but not gone. Carter Vale thrived in distance, praised for his careful decisions. Emily Mercer closed her eyes, whispering, "I wanted to speak, but I failed." Priya Nandan said, "Failure is theirs, not yours," her conviction steel. Alex Mercer sat upright, saying, "I am not finished, even if I am broken." Jordan Lee nodded, "Broken voices still sing." Emily Mercer's hands shook as she typed a message unsent. Priya Nandan replayed clean audio, whispering, "This is proof you remain." The storm ended, but ash fell heavy in the silence. The world turned faster than Alex Mercer could heal. He said, "They moved on, but my name stays burned." Jordan Lee answered, "They always move on, but we do not." Riley Stone's silence grew into irrelevance, but damage lingered. Carter Vale received praise for his adaptability, already tied to fresh ventures. Emily Mercer avoided the mirror, her silence a constant ghost. Priya Nandan said, "Truth archived is still truth, even if ignored." Alex Mercer whispered, "But my dream lies buried." Jordan Lee leaned forward, "A dream buried can grow roots if we plant again." Priya Nandan nodded, her voice low, "Resilience is not forgiveness, it is survival." The moment held no triumph, only the weight of deciding whether to endure. Night closed in heavy with consequence. "What?" Alex Mercer said, "I wanted applause, but I got silence," his voice breaking. Jordan Lee whispered, "Silence still leaves room to breathe." Riley Stone faded from feeds, her empire crumbled but not forgotten. Carter Vale thrived under spotlights that were meant for others, his smile practiced. Emily Mercer finally whispered, "You did not deserve this," though her voice carried only across the room. Priya Nandan said, "Deserve means nothing to mobs, only evidence survives," her words bitter but true. Alex Mercer's eyes burned with both pain and strength as he whispered, "If I rise again, it will not be for them." Jordan Lee gripped his shoulder, promising, "Then we build again." The resolution settled not in triumph, but in endurance carved by scars. The city breathed with indifference as Alex Mercer whispered, "My name is still a wound." Jordan Lee said, "But you are still standing," his voice both tired and strong. Riley Stone disappeared into silence, her empire dust on broken screens. Carter Vale smiled on television, untouchable in polished words. Emily Mercer finally texted, "I believe you," but sent it too late to change the past. Priya Nandan said, "History keeps the evidence, even when the world forgets," her tone steady. Alex Mercer leaned into the window light, whispering, I will not vanish, even if they want me erased. The noise online slowed, but scars lived offline. Alex Mercer said, the world moved on without me. Jordan Lee replied, but the proof outlives their rage. Riley Stone's name became a cautionary footnote, her power erased. Carter Vale thrived, every statement calculated, his image spotless. Emily Mercer whispered to herself, I should have spoken, regret filling her chest. Priya Nandan said, you survived fire, and scars are survival's proof. Alex Mercer sat straighter, saying, then let scars be the story they cannot silence. The streets echoed with strangers who forgot his face. Alex Mercer said, they erased me, yet they carry my echo. Jordan Lee answered, echoes travel farther than shouts. Riley Stone hid behind lawyers, her smile vanished from feeds. Carter Vale shook hands on new ventures, his betrayal buried under applause. Emily Mercer sat in silence, guilt a shadow she could not shake. Priyanandan whispered, echoes are not endings, they are beginnings disguised. Alex Mercer breathed deep, his resolve sharper than pain, whispering, then let my echo become my proof of living. Whispers faded, but Alex Mercer's truth remained. He said, they will forget, but forgetting is not justice. Jordan Lee replied, justice is survival. Riley Stone's empire collapsed, her silence screaming louder than her words ever did. Carter Vale's rise felt hollow, applause hiding his betrayal. Emily Mercer stared at her reflection, whispering apologies she never spoke aloud. Priya Nandan said, proof endures, memory lingers, silence breaks slower than noise. Alex Mercer clenched his fists, whispering, let my endurance be my defiance. The night hummed, carrying truth quietly into the dark. The final blow struck not from the mob, but from Alex Mercer himself. He whispered, you cannot cancel what refuses to die. Jordan Lee said nothing, only placed a hand on his shoulder. Riley Stone's silence was her confession, Carter Vale's success his hollow crown. Emily Mercer finally sent one message, I am sorry. Priyanandan whispered, survival is victory. Alex Mercer stepped into the night, scars his armor, truth his only weapon. The echo of his words lingered like a knife in quiet air, unforgettable and unbroken.